Hi, everybody. This is Annette Winberger, and I am one of the hosts of Veteran Lifestyle Magazine. And today we have a special guest. Her name is Shahnaz Deyette. She is a Navy veteran and the founder of Mended Sparrow. And I would love to bring on my co host, Joe, and we're also going to bring her on as well. Hi, everybody.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
So Shanzi, when Annette asked me to co-host, she never told me that we would be doing double header podcasts. So I'm super excited. This is my very first double header podcast. So thank you. Bucket list.
There you go.
So Shahnaz, we were looking at your website earlier, and we were looking at all the names of your horses. And first of all, wow, they are beautiful, and we love their names. But I know, and later on, we're going to ask how you name them.
Oh, okay. All right. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Because we thought they were so interesting, but he did have a question about one of them. But before we do all that, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? And then we're going to, I have a badass picture, you guys. Badass picture of her at the Invictus Games. And yeah, so let's start with the first stuff.
A little bit about myself. Yikes. Originally from San Diego, California. Joined the military in 1995, December, went up to Chicago. Of course, that coldest time period. Wouldn't recommend it. Still don't. Both my boys, somehow they're both in the military now. They both ended up in that same time period. And I didn't realize how cold it was. It was a nice little reminder during that time period. But what else? Oh my gosh, I'm like lost for words today.
It's one
This
of
is
those.
go into a meeting, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, rechange my brain here. So, no, there. Actually, to be honest with you, what would you like to know about me?
Well, I was curious. Where did you join the Army from? Like, when did you join? What brought you to make that decision to join the Army? And then, that kind of information too. Like,
So, what made me join the Navy?
oh, the Navy. Ah, yes, Navy. Oh my goodness. He's a shipmate. Even I feel even more. I will suffer my 30 days in the galley.
Ha ha ha. So, I was actually one of those that joined when I was 17. It was the next thing of just exploration, seeing the world. I mean, not the typical scenario of, oh, I wanted to serve, but beyond that, seeing what's on the other side. And then that other side turned into 17 years. But during that time period, definitely in 2004, I went to Iraq, Fallujah, and experienced an explosion, which to this day I have a titanium plastic in my neck. But if anything, during that whole time period that I understood was trauma from childhood, trauma that I experienced in the military. Not just that, but also from military sexual trauma. That maybe some things are not like the biggest thing to talk about, but it happened. And then in turn, as time went on, of knowing when you don't deal with trauma and what can happen with trauma. From another deployment, when I learned that my sister, through an email through my father, that she ended up crashing 600 feet over the mountainside in her vehicle. And that's when that moment in time of really understanding that I needed to do something or I was going to end up 6 feet under the ground. And went through the whole process of with the military, what they had to offer. But it was that time period of that crossroad of, hey, I got 3 more years, until retirement. I'm almost there. Or, or end up making the decision for my family to get better. One thing I chose was to choose my family to get better. But the beauty of it, yes, I did lose retirement, but I did receive combat pay for the rest of my life. Is the fact that I could not know where my mind would be a year later, and yet, in a sense, it'd be one of those numbers of those suicides. And knowing that, when people think of, getting help is a weakness, it's not. It's the bravest thing that you can ever do. Because if you take your life, think of all the people that you hurt because they really wanted to be there for you. And the biggest things too is through that process is just show up. Yeah. And when I made that choice of choosing my family and knowing that I made that right choice is when I heard my oldest son tell me, "Mom, I'm glad you chose us." And from that period on, I gained learning as far as going through and pursuing my my bachelor's in psychology, my master's in industrial organizational psychology. Even went so much through the Invictus Games, and that was an experience itself through the Warrior Games. And that picture right there was everything we had because we were so close. There was probably about 17 other nations. And I took 4th in the sprint and 5th in the endurance. So that was that picture. I love that picture because that was like everything I could to spill out on the floor to try to, win one for the US. But from that time period, I mean, it was a great experience, the camaraderie. And that was the biggest thing was the camaraderie. And then I came upon Simplify America Fun when they introduced me to horses in 2016. And that right there was probably, I would have to say, the most, I'm going to cry. The most tipping point of knowing that you had a horse, didn't care about your past, didn't, you could be yourself. And it is just you and the horse and you trying to, in a sense of going through that process of the being able to process things that you weren't able to process and having that time to process it with not having to deal with any type of timeline. And so in 2018, my husband and I, we decided to go ahead and get a couple horses. And we did start out as babies. But from that time period, we went by 2020, we ended up, it's just the love grew in knowing how amazing these creatures are. That 2020, we grew to 10 horses. And we all started them out as babies. And then that's when it was just like knowing how much, I mean, for me, some people are like, wait, one horse, I guess I had so much to unpack. I needed 10 horses to do it for so we needed an overhaul here. We needed the cavalry to fix me. So
you're still short 2 more, right? Didn't the special stagecoaches have 12 horses?
Well, currently we have 1 more on the way now. So we're at 11. So what's 1 more? It's like having kids. What's 1 more? You hit a certain number. What's 1 more? So, and then from that, it's just my heart really just to pay it forward. And in turn, what better yet and that's when the creation of Mended Sparrow came into mind. And our tagline is a new direction is never far away. Because it is just the fact being that you're left in that driver's seat, you're left time to process and not only that, you learn a lot about yourself with horses, especially when it comes to the self-awareness. And my biggest thing was I had some serious anger issues. And not realizing how I interacted with people, it really affected relationships. Because my biggest thing, and my husband will tell you, I would come out when people say pistols. I come out with cannons because I had no restraint. And that was something with the horses that they really, really, really taught me is you're not going to get anywhere, with people, and where is to, and I've really learned is like, hey, you get upset, you just like time out. I am in my timeout corner. And then you come back where you're thinking logically and not emotionally. And and even with trauma, yes, it's happened where they've had triggers, and then you have your little amygdala and your frontal cortex arguing with each other because the amygdala like wants to go deuces, and the frontal cortex of your brain is like, it's like, no, 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 we're gonna figure, get this all figured out. And so, but and it makes you just more comfortable in your skin in the process when you get to know, what, these emotions are okay. They're all right. And then sometimes, when things flare or people upset you, you're just like, I'm zinning, I'm zinning, or, embrace the new me, embrace the new me. And so, but,
I wanted to share this because I'm super glad that you brought up the logo and the tagline. I absolutely love that you brought that up because because this is a double header. So earlier we were talking with another author on their thing, and they talked about taking a break, and I wrote down for us in the military, that's our tactical pause, like that time out, that time to figure it out. That's the tactical pause to observe again, right? Observe, orient, decide, and act. Like, don't just act. Like, you gotta get in that OODA loop. I like to tie some of that stuff back because I think there are still lots of us that we really kind of. When you were sharing, I was thinking some of the stuff you said, and like you didn't, not giving up, not being a part of the numbers, and like the number that's out there, and kind of moving forward. Not that I think anybody that did give up did it for a bad reason. They just didn't know. Like, and I think sometimes part of that is that they lost some of the things that we still need as veterans. That idea that you can push through. Like, you got to deal with stuff, but you got to push through too. You can't. There's no giving up, right? Like in the military, I think our biggest lesson is that everything is figure outable. Right? There's no, oh, you can't do that. Go tell Gunny that. Go tell Chief, hey, Chief, I can't do it. And I think that those pauses in real life, or that time to kind of do that tactical pause and move forward. And I love that you found like a way to do that with horses because they are an amazing animal. And I just want to share that. Also, by the way, Semper Fi Fund, absolute amazing organization. You are watching me right now through a Semper Fi Fund gift to me. I didn't even realize it was coming. I think way back when, this is how old this is, probably 12-year-old laptop. I was in school and I met with them about something completely different. And about a month later, I got this box from them, and it was a Semper Fi. It was one of those deciding moments, one of those defining moments, right? Like where, wow, there are good things in the world. Let's keep passing this on. And I love that again, this theme for me about people that are doing great things as veterans that are doing great things for good reasons that are absolutely beautiful and kind of tie us into stuff that you guys are doing. Like to see those kind of synergistically come together is beautiful. Semper Fi Fund, we're talking on a thing, they got you to horses, and now we're talking about an organization that you created for horses. That's it. I mean, you can't tell me that that this is all coincidence. You know? Oh,
that's something with our core values. Our core values, our first one is individual journey. There's no timeline. And the beauty of it is people can come back to visit Mended Sparrow as many times as they want to because it's initiated for the community. Because you go to a lot of these events and they're all cross country, and then you come back and you're like, hey, where can I plug in? So that's where Mended Sparrow fills that void of when that happens. And then our second core value is the personal empowerment, where we make those choices if we choose.
right. Now on your website,
And
I
then
was going to ask you a question. I was going to ask you a question about why horses? Because I love you have a section on the why horses, and I know you shared a little bit about that, but also with the schooling that you have as far as the psychology background, can you kind of go into a little bit more of the science behind why horses? Because there are evidence that show that being around horses is very therapeutic, like not just mentally but physiologically. Do you have any kind of insight on that kind of stuff, and does that have any impact on your program?
So, what is the biggest relationship between why horses and PTSD is because horses, for them, when they react, they have I guess you could utilize like a light switch. They don't really have that frontal cortex of executive function to be like, hey, I see oh, that's a snake. Their thing is like, boop, gone. And they don't even think twice or ask questions. And from that, with the PTSD, because they're so high vigilant, what's going on, what's there, you could really relate to that. They're very in tune with their surroundings, but at the same time, too, is they I guess you say they're the masters of really understanding that emotional regulation aspect of, and then the safer in numbers. Um, but the beauty of it is too is that when, or even say some for a horse or a human that has experienced the amount of trauma, you have these little and I guess I'll go resorting back to, you could go like going to the gym, you're building muscle, and you
Mhm.
just don't build muscle overnight. It's a long period to process, getting those muscle fibers to grow. Well, the same concept is also in the brain. You're always having to create and be mindful. To be present and thinking present is actually, you have to work your brain out for that. And that's something that horses bring to the table, is to be present of the here and now, because even for them, they're here and now. And to train yourself in going there daily, it's just like going to the gym. And so what ends up happening of it is that these little snaps and these little neurons in the brain start connecting. And then when you do have other episodes of trauma, you have, that's where resiliency
Yeah.
gets developed in your brain, because you can handle it more than what you weren't able to do it before, because you were on that fight or flight response.
I've heard that talk before about, I guess in layman's terms, because I'm a grunt, right? The brain is actually lazy. It wants to be lazy. It doesn't want. It wants to conserve energy. So um, being present requires it not to conserve energy. So that's why it puts all these other things. It's already kind of similar, so that we don't have to concentrate on being present. I love that you bring that up, because it's not the first time I've heard it, and it's cool to see how it can be applied to like in a place such as equine therapy, right? Like that's actually what the key components are, is learning to be present, because I think that's a universal kind of thing, isn't it? Like being present as far as being able to move forward, um, and how other ways that being present with horses kind of beneficial in your experience do this program.
I'm sorry, what was that question? If
Oh, I
that
was
was,
like, in your experience, like other benefits of being present with horses, like how other the interactions that help you become present and learn that. Like, are there any other kind of, in your experience, how does that help? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what the horse do to help you be present with them?
to try to better explain what it means by being present in the here and now, the beauty of it, and I'm going to speak like you said, just from my experience, is that when you're working that brain, and this probably maybe happened maybe about a year ago. I was out with family. We went to the like Luray Caverns. And what I mean by being present is you're paying attention to the smallest little details, is what's going on with your family, and the leaves falling, and what color, as it's shimmering, against your kid's hair from the sun. You start noticing more things that you never noticed before, because your emotions are not being hijacked by something. And then being that present moment, it becomes that memory becomes beautiful, like it's a director of a movie, and all the scenes and everything, you could think of the plot, and the lighting, and then maybe just throw some music in there, and it becomes beautiful, where you really didn't have that experience because your mind was preoccupied somewhere else. And you're right, it's your brain does in a sense want to be lazy, and then you have to train it to be that present, like you're working out. And then, but the beauty of it is to have those beautiful memories that you just really, you were there but you weren't there, but now seeing the difference of it is when you train your brain to get there.
Right. I guess I was tracking on that. Maybe for me was more like, what processes when you're working with the horse? Is the horsemanship in general? Is it a specific therapy that helps? In other words, how does the horse help you learn to be present? And is that I think that's my question more, because I want to share more about horses too, and not too much science.
Oh no, you're completely fine. You did cut out a little bit, so if you refrain, not like just rephrase that one question when you're saying, because you were asking my experience. What was the what type of experience you're pertaining for? Just pertaining as far as the go ahead and repeat that, but more
Yeah, no, I meant your experience in horses helped you. How does that help? Like, what aspects of the horse interaction helps you be present? In other words, like, so that you can take advantage of that experience that you had with your family, right? Recognizing the times and being there with them presently and not distracted. Is it just the distractions being with horses makes you stay more focused? Like, in other words, for someone that's going, hey, you know what, I want to do equine therapy, what exactly am I going to be doing with the horse?
So with the horse, another aspect of the horse, it works on the relationship piece. It's just like even transferring over to real life. If you're not being present, the horse is not going to be present. And when you're present with the horse will be present with you. So think of the movie Avatar. Remember where they united with the animal and they had that little connection piece, and all of a sudden they started feeling the breathing, and they started feeling, the movement of the horse being basically almost like a centaur. And so when that happens, is that's when what that horse can where that horse can bring, because it's almost like a little bit of an addiction, where you start sensing that connection and you go back for it more. And so in turn, when you do, I'm not, and I guess I relate it back to working out. It's kind of that endorphins. It Once you sense that endorphins, you go back to it because it's peaceful, it's nurturing, and it's very natural. And when you're present with that horse, the horse does amazing things for you that you want to keep doing that.
Yeah.
And that's when that process of that healing starts, because you have that sense of partnership. It's as though it in a sense it teaches you you're not emotionally alone. And then here you have this 1,200-pound animal that's like, whoa, this, wanting to work together with you, and you have this amazing partnership. Then in a sense of, thinking everything is on your shoulders, when all of a sudden this 1,200-pound animal is like, hey, I'll share it with you, let's do it.
I did an equine therapy program through the South Orange County Vet Center in Southern California, down at the Shea Riding Center. I don't know if you heard of them, Shea Riding Center. And for me, one of the coolest parts was learning that I got to convince this animal to trust me, and I think that's always a hard step, because we did the whole thing where we get them, you work them in the ring. I don't know if you remember that. Like, you put your hand up because they'll move away from it. Right? They're not gonna let you push them. They're just gonna run. Is what I noticed. So you get them to do these exercises, and then I remember you do it in a way that I guess they learn to trust that you're not going to hurt them. And then I remember they told us we turn away from them and start to walk away, and then stop. And if you really made that connection, that the horse would come up to you and
Yes.
either nuzzle you, or it would just come up and say, "All right, you're okay. I trust you." And
it's it
a lot of us veterans had a hard time at that just simple task of getting this animal to just trust us, because we were so like
it,
tense and
Yep. And that's where that letting go piece comes into play. They have to be able to let go. And then when that letting go happens, then there's that connection. And then you're sometimes another terminology we say hooked on would be used. And, and then so as you walk away, all of a sudden, and without even a lead rope, they walk with you because the connection has finally been made for that trust. Absolutely.
One of the big for me in that experience, one of the biggest things was it was almost like this relief. Like I felt like, whoa, I did that. Like
Freedom.
just like a because I consume a lot of stuff, but I think that's just a part of who we are, right? We are part of a thing, but I would try to keep the happy things. Just to kind of to throw in a Marvel comic thing, I felt I was worthy. Right? It was like that was me lifting majority, lifting the hammer was this horse trusting me. That was my hammer. So thank you for sharing this. I'm loving this. I'm gonna let Annette ask some questions but I told her beforehand because I really do think there is so much value in the idea of this partnership because this is a huge partnership, horses and humans. We've been together a while. There's a connection, and nothing is anyway. So thank you for letting me ask a lot of questions and be really, really curious.
Oh, no problem.
One of the things I kept going back to as I'm listening to your whole story and all about all the horses and what they can do for people, I keep wondering, why can't the Army adopt this? Why can't the Navy? Why can't the military adopt this as part of a healing process? And I'm sure there's a lot of politics involved and all that, but what is
I've heard personally to answer that question. And this is my current struggle is that they see the horse at face value. They don't see what it can really do. They see it as, oh, hey, they're doing reining or they're competitions and things of that nature. It's that, and it goes back to that science aspect of really diving deeper. Um, but I honestly believe that's going to be changing soon.
oh yeah?
I do. I do. I honestly believe that will be changing soon. For the fact that there has been some highlight in regards to a lot of studies that have been starting to be not say I wouldn't say in a word of pumped out, but a lot of peer review studies that are supporting the benefits of the horses of what they can do for people, um, as well as there's other organizations that are like we were a charity partner for an organization called Horses for Mental Health. And we, as far as going around knowing the importance of really where you said the emphasis, but a lot of it goes back to educating the people. A lot of it goes to where, yes, I wholeheartedly the suicide aspect of it, of what horses can help with that in a sense, because it is hard for people, when they say, well, why don't they just pick up the phone? Well, no, why don't you pick up the phone and call them? Because when your mind is where it is, you're not thinking about that. And just that, hey, how you doing, bit, what's up, or even a text message. And but as far as those things changing, it's just like anything, awareness, trying to where we're teaching people about PTSD. It's the invisible wounds. It's not like, oh, if we could okay, amputee, oh, they're missing something, well, open up that brain cap and see all those scrambled eggs and all the craziness going on inside there. And so it's just, again, just like anything with change, when you're trying to push for change, you always know you're going to have some sort of opposition, but you just keep, you keep pushing forward. The VA has, as far as grants are concerned, has started to recognize that, but I wish the healthcare system would get on board with that.
Right.
I do know that I think it's Medicaid. They have something for like senior citizens that do involve horses, but as far and in between, which you would hope that would be streamlined. But it's like anything, pushing forward, and people and it's kind of like, it's like, for me, my struggle is like, hey, I give I do a demonstration for the regular public going, hey, you're getting the same type of service, with them providing a donation, saying this is what, the people of our population are, their services. So again, connecting with just the civilian crowd in order to say, oh, wow, this is different. And every time they come in, they're like, oh my gosh, I need to get my, team here to go do it too. And so it's just a matter of time. And it's a matter of, I guess you could say, I feel like the little worker bee with my little, little grunt going through pushing through like others who are trying to push through to make that change.
I love that you have so much positivity about it, because there has to be something else. There has to be. And it's proven from nonprofits like yourself. And so we do have to get the military to, all branches of service, to really dig deep and not just see the animal. What does that animal do for people that this pill does not do? And I've heard it from several people.
I know I said I wasn't going to talk in that, but they don't even see the value. We first have to convince them to look at the soldier, sailor, airman, and marine first as nautical law. That's our first step. I mean, before we get to them looking at horses as more than just a horse, they got to start treating the service members. I think what we're doing now is the answer. What she started that's the answer. If we just keep asking, well, are they going to do it? Are they going to do it? It's never going to happen. I think it's up to us to amplify these stories. It's up to us to create the partnerships, the collaborations, a network of, Mended Sparrows and all of these other equine people that are doing this amazing work with animals. Like, just getting the word out there is amplifying. I think that's really the answer, because they're not going to, they still have to convince half of the country to support a new bill or support this or support that before they will do those kind of things. I think what we're doing is the answer, and I wholeheartedly am bullish on this. So I'm not going to talk about it anymore.
No,
because that's a step. Like exactly what you're doing is the answer. It's us, that veterans, looking out for other veterans, and then looking out for our communities that we're in. Like, that's going to be a fix.
No, you're right. You're right, and I'm glad you jumped in. Don't do that. Don't do that. No, you're right. There's so many other levels. I just keep thinking, if they're not going to do this, they do this, so they do something. Like, just stop standing back here. But anyway, I could talk about that all day. What does honestly, what does your typical day look like? How do you juggle personal life? You have 10 horses. It's not like me. I can just put my 5 dogs and
if I could have like a little emoji of a chicken's head cutting off, like running around, cut off, that is like, and I just actually, the meeting I had beforehand, I was like, we're in need of volunteers. And right now I'm right now in the process of trying to update our website. I'm trying to give my website designer okay, the one stop, this is all we need changes, to let the public know is that we need volunteers, whether it be somebody in social media that can do that. Cause I'm literally wearing multiple hats. And so, I had somewhere to go with this and my thought just went away. But this is how it happens when you get so busy. You're just like, I don't even know what direction or even anything, but the day in the life would probably be is one in the morning, checking on the horses, feeding the horses, because horses somehow within 24 hours, they like to hurt themselves somehow. And so you just make sure that, everything's, good to go with them, and then their waters, and then just coming in with them. And then I've got participants that come in and we do the activities and whatnot, like for one-on-ones. Since we have been open, since February of this year, granted, we're still working on our awareness, we've already provided 72 services. And so the need is there. It's just, I'm one person. I'm going to put like the one, if I could get the screen, one person that, you know, I am all for, hey, if you a position of wanting to pay it forward, come on board.
Right.
And help Mended Sparrow out. As far as I'm right now training up 2 coaches, because I am not a licensed mental health clinician, and we're utilizing the approach of that peer support aspect, as well as that life coaching aspect. Yes, there is a place for mental health. There will always be certain things. But we have that little arm to the piece of not only the equine assisted learning piece, which is professional development, the team building, things that people are common of associating, the fun part, and then the education piece of it, which is that's where that whole self-awareness and self-regulation comes into play. And then you have the horsemanship, which is really that partnership. And we also have an 8-week course coming up here in the fall, starting one is starting October 3rd and the other one is starting October 8th. The October 3rd is an 8-week course. It's an unmounted one here in Mechanicsville, where for the horses, where you really work on that trust, the communication, the leadership aspect of it. And then the one that's the 6-week course that starts on the 8th is a couples one. So really couples working on the aspects of communication and conflict resolution, aspect behind it, working with the horses. And so for that alone, I mean, and we'll start that, and then obviously more programs. The beauty of it is when these coaches get on, more people, we can also increase the load of those that are coming in. But a day is like this morning I had participants, and then this afternoon was a meeting, and then jumping on with you guys, and then and then afterwards there'll be more administration as I have my computer over here. So but and it was just having this discussion with actually the person I spoke to earlier. I said, yeah, I just got invited to go riding with a couple people, and I said, I need my self-care, you know. And so I said, as much as there's so much to do, I said, that's my self-care. Go out with some friends, go riding, because that's what it all started, was that happy place. And to always, and it's like that refuel of that little happy place to hit the trails or ride the water or whatever, and then come back. We also have part of 2, we've built 14 obstacle courses in the back. So that's part of not only our unmounted, but also our mounted portion of it. And maybe people may ask too is, oh, you have rescues. For our horses that we have, because of the type of, it's a different framework, because we have the mounted piece, all our horses are rideable. So, and then we have access to 800 acres in the back that we're completely adjacent to. So a lot of big future things.
That's all?
I know, that's all. Besides being mom, and getting my text messages where mom's like, Mom, I need you to drop this off. And then, for the husband, and playing wife and husband, and that's where in the evening. And then the big one too is being able to set boundaries where it's like, okay, that's it. It's 7:00 or
Yes.
time where my family has my attention.
Right.
And what they need. And then my daughter telling me a full hour of recap of what she did at school, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, whoo. But, I was like, my sons didn't do that, but it's okay. Girls are different. So
that's so hard though, right? You got to remain present, but in the back of your mind, you're thinking, what else do I have to do today? Or what do I have to do tomorrow? Like, how do you...
and I'm not gonna lie to you. Is it challenging? Absolutely. I wouldn't be human if I said, oh no, I can just do this. I'd be lying to you. So right. It's and one thing that horses, when I was training them, is the little things, the little tries add up. Over time, it gets bigger and bigger. So even if you got maybe 1 or 2% done for the day, guess what? that was not 1 to 2% that you couldn't, it still adds up. And so I've learned not to, in that content, not be hard on myself, because there's so much I want to accomplish.
Right.
So I just take it as, what, at least I did something, did not do it at all. And I've taken it as it's still moving forward. And then it's nice to reflect after this year going, wow, right now we're at, granted there'll be more once we get the group classes going in the fall, but hey, we provided this many services. Guess what next year will be? And I guess that little competitive as any military, we're like, let's go for, 50 more, we could do this.
Right. Oh yeah, exactly.
So, but I think that will always be ingrained in us.
Yeah, always.
Pushing that envelope of how much more we can, push. So, but also reminding of the importance of self-care regardless.
Right. So guilty. So we heard a little bit about your goals with Mended Sparrow. Is there any personal goals that you want to share?
Personal goals. And what, Mended Sparrow personal goals, or just basically mainly my personal goals?
I mean, anything, because sometimes we forget about our own.
Actually, I am due for hip surgery at the end of this month. I am kind of just, even though it's like, oh, I'm supposed to balance. Why? Well, let's just put that on the plate. Of all the things, I think after that, it's just definitely getting back into shape. How I was before, my hip being like, it's evil right now. So I'm looking forward of getting back into doing all those extra activities. Because right now I'm like on I guess my hip turns into like Cinderella. It turns into a pumpkin after 3 hours.
Yep.
So just try to get everything done. But I'm going to look forward to where it's like, yes, 8 hours and I'm still standing, So
that would be great. I know. Okay. We have one last question that we would like to ask you. Now, is there a possibility of creating a horsemanship training boarding school for veterans?
Horsemanship boarding school, as in like having people stay on campus?
Yep.
As in, so there's a part on the property that's next to us that's kind of like, I guess you say, would be phase 2.
Okay.
We would like to offer that, especially for females, because there seems to be a lot of organizations that, they, whether it be, not say inpatient, but residencies, like for the boarding, a lot of them are only set up for males, but in a sense also set something up for the females.
Okay.
But as far as that is concerned, that is something, again, as we grow, we have property around us to make that happen. But the biggest thing is, I guess, as anything, Rome was not built in a day. So I want, let's go. It's kind of like the piggy bank says, well, until the piggy bank gets full, then we can press forward. And that's where it goes into the whole, we're looking for grants and those, or even, hey, angel investor, anybody out there, wanting to, for the big future plans of what Mended Sparrow wants to do.
Right.
But
that's awesome. I can't wait to see everything that's going to unfold in the next years. It's absolutely amazing. Joe, do you have any last words?
No. I just keep getting drawn back to Sansa. I think that's one of the beautiful horses I've seen in a while. Really, and also I was really fond of Bjorn. That was one of your first.
Gretchen and Bijou were our first two.
Bijou.
So, and Gretchen,
absolutely.
Thank you. Gretchen and Bjorn are full siblings.
And yes, your boss mirror, right?
Oh yeah. Love her. She has an old soul to her. She is just absolutely wonderful. We had somebody who, a veteran that was hit by a drunk driver, and she was able to. Her kids were like, "Wow, mom's getting on a horse," and she was and she stood still like a statue as the veteran got on her back. I mean, and may have not been graceful, but she stood like a statue as she climbed on her back. And that's why I said she's worth her weight in gold. And she's got a little one in the bun cooking, so we'll see if 2 for 2 on that one.
I know we're winding down, but as you were saying that, I just had a quick question because you have so many horses. Like, are their personalities just as different as, let's say, any other animal?
Absolutely.
And then when you pair them with a veteran, is it the personality that you kind of realize, okay, this horse needs to go with this guy because this is what he's working on, and this horse, or do you just go?
It depends on
basically how can the horse carry this veteran or that veteran, and then you just put them together.
So it depends on, like, if they do one-on-ones and say, you know what, today it's like they come in like, what do you want to work on today? And they go, I want, and then they could say, you know what, I want to work on patience. And I'm like, I got the horse for you. So I can kind of, in that sense, make that happen. Or they come out and they say they're going to do the 8-week program. Then I could be like, okay, go ahead and pick the horse that you want. Yeah. So, and it comes to find out, it's actually that horse almost is similar, mirrors their personality. So they're literally that mirroring, or excuse me, that reflection. They're really reflecting that individual. Like they both, it's really, it's cool. It's like out of the blue when they pick the personality. I'm like, wow, I was like, this is really cool without even really doing anything. They just gravitate to that particular horse.
I want to relate that to something they experience in the dog world, right? Because that's similar. Like when I do training, like when you do dog training, like certain people are like, wow, that's such a mismatched dog. But because we've had such a long relationship with both of these animals, I really do think that there is a almost evolutionary connection between people and dogs, people and horses. Those two especially, because they've been our partners way longer than any other kind of domesticated animal. They've been probably the two animals that have advanced us further than any other technology or partner that we could have developed with, right, on the earth.
Absolutely. And the contents is like, and a lot of people sometimes misconstrue thinking, oh, dogs are known to be the predators. Like in humans, we're predators. Horses are the prey. So there's a little bit of a different, that's where that whole aspect of when they don't think about it, they're like, bye, see you later.
Yeah.
Dealing with anything of danger. Where dogs are like, oh, let's go,
let's go. Yeah. And there's like this weird stuff where you just get it. Like, I'd never been around horses, and I spent I think it was 6 weeks that we did the program. And again, I've never been around them, but once that trust was built, I felt like it was just a natural partnership. Like it just felt right to be around this 1,400-pound animal. But if I made the wrong move, like it could have, like, I mean, literally, if you think about it, of course, if it didn't like you, and if you just did the wrong thing to protect itself, it could seriously hurt us. But you just feel that comfort once you get that. I don't know, it's just weird. And I feel that same way, like when I actually work with dogs, and that just there's this comfort, there's this innate communication ability once it clicks, right? But it's like you said, once you get that hook, you're hooked on. Is that what you called it?
Yeah, it's a horsey term. You're where they hook on you, and so there's that connection. Yeah. Boom, there it is.
You're hooked on. Once that happens, the same thing with dogs. Once that idea that, oh wow, I'm actually communicating with this guy that I thought I just throw scraps to, and I feed him every now and then.
That's where that whole nonverbal communication comes into play. Mm-hmm. You guys are now. I got like the sign language. Now you are all on that sign language because they feed on you. Like when you see your dog and that expression in the face, and you're like, I know exactly what you're going to do. Don't even think about it. You're able to read those nonverbal cues. And that same thing with horses, being able to present that, their ears, or the tail, everything starts speaking a language.
You can see it. Oh, I remember now, as you talk about it, I can remember like the guy was saying, yeah, watch his ears and his tail. They're going to tell you exactly when you key into it and you get like to steal your hooked on, you identify it. It's really interesting. It's such a cool, and I don't know, talking about it again just kind of gives like goosebumps, like that ability to really connect with something, which I think is something good for veterans. I think it's definitely uh, a path to healing the moral injury if you have a moral injury, and also, like you said, the path to is really kind of being present for PTSD. So thank you for what you're doing. Um, I'm going to stop talking.
Oh, it's fine. No, truly, thank you so much for Shahnaz for being on here and for starting such an amazing nonprofit. We do absolutely need to keep sharing this and elevating, the voices to be heard, and hopefully, God willing, that it gets adopted into the military somehow after they do a thorough check of each veteran, of each military service member, to find out what's going on. So thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing everything that you do in the future. And I cannot end this without thanking Parade Deck, Veteran Social Summit, and of course, we would love to invite all of you to our summit 4 to 5 December. Go to the link for more information if you would like to be a part of something that's going to be quite amazing. And if you are interested in the magazine, please also go to our website and reach out if you ever have any questions or if you want to be on the show. Thank you, Parade Deck. Thank you, Veteran Social Summit. Thank you, 10th Mountain. Thank you all for your unwavering support in everything that we do. And of course, thank you to my co-host, Joe. And we look forward to seeing you again.
I look forward to connecting more, Shahnaz. I am fond of your program. So thank you.
Well, come on out. So
We
definitely, we'll have both of you guys come out if you want to. We
Okay.
actually have a little place over the detached garage for those that come through. So it has little rooms in it.
Well, see, I want to connect with you because I have some great ideas, and if you have enough space to really kind of empower your own program.
Absolutely, we are always.
One of the things that I am very 100% confident and good at is that I have great ideas to make things. Like I got the biggest ideas, they're great, but my steering and my brakes don't work too well. So the more team members that we have amplifying these kinds of things, and I'm serious. This is exactly what we talk about when we're talking about a collaborative partnerships and efforts to solve problems. It's exactly what we're doing. I'm on board. I love it.
Love it. Go ahead and follow us on all social media platforms to include TikTok, YouTube, X, Facebook, Instagram, all of it. So thank you very much. We will see you next time.